Okay, I think that we will go on and get started. There might still be people coming in. I know there's are still coming in, but we have a lot to share with you today, so we want to go on and get the program going. So thank you very much for joining us on this second in our webinar series in celebration of World Migratory Bird Day and our conservation theme, Shared Spaces, Creating Bird-Friendly Cities and Communities. I want to, before it gets too far into the program, let you know what's coming up because this series does continue. So on March 21st, which is tomorrow, Miguel Mata, who has joined us here today, is our Latin American coordinator, and he'll be hosting a session for educators on how to put together your World Migratory Bird Day program. So please join us for that, and you can go to migratorybirdday.org to find more information and to register. On April 17th, we'll be focusing on bird collisions, and we have a competition associated with each of these webinars. And so we'll be announcing the winners of the coffee competition today. But for April 17th, if you're interested in winning some window film for some windows that are causing bird strikes at your windows, please submit an essay, a short essay describing a window at your school or at a building that you feel needs to be protected for birds. On May 15th, we're excited to focus on keeping cats away from birds, and we have Jonathan Lassos, who is the author of The Cat's Meow. We also have a special guest, Mia, who is a Bengal cat, and she will come with her owner to teach you about how to keep your cat indoors, in a catio, or on a leash. And for that discussion, we invite you to submit a photo of your cat on a leash or in a catio or an outdoor enclosure or happily in your house. Environment for the Americas works across the Western Hemisphere, and we're based in Colorado, but we have team members and partners around the world. And so we want to welcome you. Miguel Mata is here. He is the Latin American coordinator. We have a coordinator, Laura Balbual in Trinidad, Daniela Sosa in Mexico. And so we work in many different communities and are very excited about the conservation theme, Shared Spaces, this year. We also want to thank our partners because without them, this wouldn't be possible. They help support these webinars as well as the many education materials that we provide through the program. And so we invite you to explore migratorybirdday.org and look at those materials. Many of them are downloadable and include presentations, coloring pages, icons for your social media, whatever you need to help you promote awareness of bird conservation and your World Migratory Bird Day program. World Migratory Bird Day and Environment for the Americas are built on the four pillars of conservation and education, reducing threats to birds and inspiring the next generation. What we want to do is to bring new people to birds, bird watching, and bird conservation, and we do that in a variety of ways. One through World Migratory Bird Day and also through our research and internship and education and training programs. So we invite you to follow us. We have a weekly newsletter where you can learn more about what we do. World Migratory Bird Day was started in 1993 by the Smithsonian Migratory Bird Center, and it was considered the keystone program of Partners in Flight and still is today. And over the years, we have addressed a number of issues and threats to migratory birds, from plastic pollution to why birds matter, the importance of insects, and the critical need for stopover sites for migratory birds. This year, we're especially excited to have Shared Spaces, Creating Bird-Friendly Cities and Community. The artist of this poster is Ana Maria Savarino Drago. She is from Mexico, and you can see that she did a beautiful, beautiful job with the art this year. Each of these webinars is focusing on a topic that is actually tucked into this art. And so if you look very closely in the poster, we hope that you'll find the coffee plants that we've put into the image. And we'll be addressing each of the topics that are in the art throughout the year, raising awareness of how you can make your communities more bird friendly. And again, before we continue on with our guest speakers, I want to one more time, Miguel and I will share that there is Spanish translation. So we invite you to use the globe icon and select Spanish if you need Spanish translation. And Miguel, I'll turn it over to you to share that one more time.
Sí, nuevamente para aquellos que están escuchando nuestro webinar en español, este webinar será principalmente en inglés, por lo que necesitamos realizar una pequeña acción. Va hacia la parte baja de su Zoom, encontrará un botón que tiene forma de globo. Al dar clic en este botón, selecciona español y encontrará a nuestra traductora Berenice, que estará acompañando todo y traduciendo todo el webinar para ustedes en español. Y sean bienvenidos, también son bienvenidas las preguntas en el chat directamente en el idioma de su preferencia. Adelante.
Thank you, Miguel. And I just want to say how wonderful it is to see people from so many different places. I think one of our last people, and I invite you to continue to put where you're calling in from, is from Ethiopia, which I believe is where coffee was first discovered, wasn't it? So it's very exciting to see you joining us from Ethiopia and the origins of coffee, a favored drink today. So today we have an expert panel for you. We have the Smithsonian Migratory Bird Center, Finca Terrerito, and Red Start Roasters. At the end of the presentations, we will open it up for questions. You'll have the opportunity to turn on your camera and ask your questions personally. We also invite you to put your questions in the chat. And at the end of the webinar, we will announce the winners of the Bird Friendly Coffee Photo Contest. So please stay tuned for that. Miguel, I'll let you do that just one more time in Spanish before we get started.
Sí, esta vez estamos muy emocionados de compartir una de las acciones claves del Día Mundial de las Aves Migratorias, que es la conservación de los bosques de cafetales de sombra que ayudan directamente a la protección de las aves migratorias. Recordarles a todos que este es un webinar dado en inglés, por lo que si usted habla español necesita encontrar un icono en forma de globo en la parte baja del Zoom, seleccionar el idioma en español y encontrará a nuestra traductora Berenice, que traducirá todo este webinar para usted. Muchas gracias y no dude en escribir las preguntas en el idioma de su preferencia en el chat.
Thank you again, Miguel. And so without further ado, I want to bring you our first speaker, Kirsten Hill, who is the Bird Friendly Program Manager. She has 15 years of experience. She is knowledgeable and enthusiastic advocate for shade coffee. So I want to say how much I appreciate working with Kirsten over the last month at least on learning more about shade coffee and how we can promote shade coffee in our communities. She's going to give you the ins and outs of that today. And then again, we'll pass it off to our coffee farm in Honduras and end with a coffee roaster. So Kirsten, I'm going to turn this over to you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you so much, Sue, and welcome everyone to our webinar today. It's a pleasure to be able to speak with you about bird-friendly coffee and about sort of the intersection of coffee and migratory bird conservation. You can move to the next slide. So as we get started, just a brief background about who we are. So as Sue mentioned, my name is Kirsten Hill. I'm the program manager for Smithsonian Bird Friendly. So we are a certification program, which we'll get into in just a little bit, that is housed within the Smithsonian Migratory Bird Center as part of Smithsonian Institute, the largest research complex and education complex in the world. So our center was founded in 1991 with a dedication to understanding, conserving, and championing the grand phenomenon of bird migration. So we are all about migratory birds. Next slide. Thank you. And we really love this quote that sort of sums up the importance of birds in the ecosystem. If you're on this call, I'm sure you are, it doesn't take any convincing for you to care about birds, for you to understand and appreciate birds and how wonderful they are. But we really love this quote that sort of sums up, if you take care of birds, you take care of most of the big environmental problems in the world. So birds are a really important indicator species in that way. So if there's a healthy bird population, it's usually indicative of a healthy ecosystem. Conversely, if the bird population is declining, it's a sign of some greater problems for not just birds, but all the wildlife and the people and the nature that depends upon it. Okay, thank you. And as we know, unfortunately, there has been a fairly steep decline in birds recently. So there was a report that came out in 2019 talking about nearly 3 billion birds that were lost in North America since 1970. So it's a really, really sharp decline in bird populations, showing that there's a big problem at hand that we need to address. Next slide. And when we look specifically at those numbers, migratory birds in particular are really suffering. So 2.5 out of those almost 3 billion birds that were lost since 1970 were migratory species. So putting that into perspective, it's a population loss of almost 30% and about 2 in 5 Baltimore Orioles. When we think about these iconic species that spend time in so many different areas, we're seeing this sharp decline. And migratory birds in particular are an interesting group to try to conserve because they spend time in so many different areas. Next slide, please. Thank you. One of the underlying causes throughout the annual cycle for migratory birds is habitat loss. So we see habitat loss in the overwintering grounds, in tropical areas. We see it in the breeding grounds. We see it in the migratory flyway. But one of the key drivers of bird declines is this agricultural driven habitat loss. Unfortunately, about 70% of tropical deforestation is driven by agriculture. And if you look on that map there, you can see that forest loss just from that period between 2000 and 2017. That's pretty remarkable. Next slide, please. Thank you. So our researchers at the Smithsonian Migratory Bird Center, they were noticing this quite some time, even before the start of the Migratory Bird Center in 1991. So pictured here is Dr. Russ Greenberg. He is one of the founders of the Smithsonian Migratory Bird Center, and he was noticing, along with other ornithologists, this decline in migratory bird populations and was trying to figure out the root of why this was happening. And these are some of his field notes in sort of what he was seeing was in traveling to the overwintering periods for migratory birds. You're seeing this habitat loss that's happening already in the 1980s, but areas of refuge started to emerge as coffee farms that were maintaining shade on their land. They were providing good habitat for migratory birds in a way that that other areas in sun-grown coffee was not. And when you take a look at the two potential growing systems for coffee, you can see how one would provide a much better habitat than another for these migratory birds. So on the left of your screen, what you're seeing here is sun-grown coffee monoculture. So unfortunately, this is how about 3/4 of the world's coffee is grown now. So all remaining habitat has been removed. All that's really left are these rows and rows of coffee monoculture. And there's leaving very little space for birds and biodiversity to share that land. However, on the right-hand side is what you're seeing as an agroforestry system. So this is a shade coffee area where you can see coffee is grown in the understory. If you don't necessarily know what you're looking for, it can sometimes be a little bit hard to even figure out where the coffee is. But this is the way in which coffee was traditionally grown. So all the way up until the 1970s, most coffee was grown in the shade, in the understory of these forests. But then around the 1970s, which if we think back to that study of 3 billion bird loss, that's when we started to see that sharp decline. Those two things kind of go hand in hand, where we're seeing fewer birds that are able to exist on these farms, largely because of this deforestation that's happening. So in these areas, it's easy to see, and you can click one more time, please. The number of bird species goes up exponentially when you're able to preserve this high quality habitat on coffee farms. Next slide, please. So we at the Smithsonian Migratory Bird Center took this information we were finding about these areas of refuge for migratory birds on shaded coffee farms, and with that created the Smithsonian bird-friendly certification. So we uphold ourselves to be the gold standard in biodiversity-friendly coffee. We were created and rooted in the idea of ornithology and bird conservation occurring on coffee farms. We require 100% organic practices on farms, 100% deforestation free, 100% product purity, which means no mixing or blending of any non-bird friendly certified coffees with bird friendly certified coffees, and biodiversity conservation occurring on 100% of our farms. Next slide, please. So the way that the bird friendly certification program works is we have a licensed supply chain that works to bring the coffee from the farm all the way to the consumer. So we work with a series of audit companies who go out and perform verification inspections on bird-friendly farms. We have a network of almost 60 bird-friendly licensed or certified producer groups, which are comprised of over 4,100 farmers who are responsible for growing the coffee and maintaining that habitat on their land. These producers then sell their coffee to the licensed importers within our program, of which we have a little over 28 importers who work in different countries to bring bird-friendly coffee to market. We also have a community of over 100 roasters who are part of our program and are able to roast the coffee and bring it to fruition. For the cups, all of us who require our morning cup of coffee, our roasters are responsible for that. And we have millions of consumers who drink bird-friendly coffee each year. So together, we protect habitat in 14 countries worldwide on over 34,000 acres, producing over 3 million pounds of coffee each year. So a little bit more about our certification and what it looks like. So what does it mean for bird friendly to be that gold standard? So as I mentioned, organic is a requirement. So it's a prerequisite that if you want to become bird friendly certified at the farm level, you have to already hold an organic certification or participate in a participatory guarantee system, which verifies organic practices. We also have a requirement of no deforestation, no conversion of forest to coffee growing land or any deforestation on the land for a period of at least 10 years. We also require biodiversity conservation occurring on the farm in the form of wildlife protection and habitat conservation. And there's two pathways for that now as of last year. The first is agroforestry, where we require at least 10 tree species, with the majority being native, and an average of at least 40% shade cover and a 12-meter canopy height on the farm for that agroforestry system, where coffee is growing in that understory underneath the farm. And as of last year, we rolled out a forest conservation standard to protect a unique subset of birds, which are really just those forest-dependent species that don't always thrive in coffee farms. So to expand the conservation impact of our certification, we launched this forest conservation standard, where we have to have a minimum of 40% conserved forest that is located within 2 kilometers of the farm, and that is pristine forest. So that's untouched, not used, with an active management plan and no resource extraction. So we've got these two pathways now for farms to become bird-friendly certified and guarantee that this habitat is preserved for the birds that depend upon it most. Next slide, please. But it's not just the birds that are benefiting from bird-friendly farming practices. Bird-friendly farms have also been known to provide high-quality habitat for amphibians and small mammals. We just had a really great research presentation last week showing camera trap studies of all of the different animals that are utilizing habitat on bird-friendly and shaded coffee farms. So animals like anteaters, tapirs even, and even some of the larger cat species. So not so small mammals too are using this space, which is really exciting. Bird-friendly farms are also more resilient to climate extremes. So when you keep those trees on your farms, that's shoring up the soil. Those roots are holding onto that soil, which means in the event of severe weather, lots of rain, it's less likely to be washed out. And then the shade provides a nice cover crop over the coffee itself, which means it's less likely to burn up in the event of extreme heat. Bird-friendly farms also have increased soil fertility and moisture, keeping that leaf litter on the ground, keeping the forest as close as it can be to a forest while still growing coffee. And the farms themselves sequester carbon to fight climate change. Bird-friendly farms can also help farmers earn more money because part of the shade crops that can be grown can include secondary products like limes, lemons, avocados, which can then also be sold. And bird-friendly allows farmers to leverage a higher price point by having that certification associated with their crop. And then, of course, there's the ecosystem services that the birds themselves provide, things like pollination and pest control, rodent control, that can really help farmers manage their crops. We know that one question that we often get is what makes bird-friendly coffee different? What sets bird-friendly apart as that gold standard? So we have a table here. I'm not going to read out the whole thing because that would take too much time. But basically, what we look at here when we think about bird-friendly and what's best for biodiversity is you look for that shade cover within bird-friendly that's strictly regulated. The only other certification that looks at that a little bit is Rainforest Alliance, where there are some regulations in place, but for fair trade, for organic, and even for that generic term, shade grown, it can be loosely defined. There's no regulations in place. There's nothing that's guaranteeing that that shade is providing that high quality habitat for birds and biodiversity. When you look at pesticide regulation, again, we are 100% organic. Organic upholds that same requirement, but the other certifications don't quite do that. We also maintain 100% product purity, meaning that there's no mixing or blending allowed in a bird-friendly coffee product. So every bean in that cup or bag of bird-friendly coffee is going to be coming from these farms that provide this high-quality habitat for birds and biodiversity. And then for that biodiversity protection piece as well, as we talked about, we have those high standards for what it means to provide excellent habitat for birds and biodiversity. And when you look at some of the other certification schemes or even some of the other terms out there like shade grown, none quite live up and match to that bird friendly standard that we have. So if you're thinking, this sounds great, how do I get involved? I'm sold. I want to do what's best for birds and biodiversity. What can I do? There's 3 simple actions that you can take. So the first is, if you're not already, make the switch to a bird-friendly certified coffee for your morning cup of joe. We've got a lot of really wonderful roasters. If you visit our website, we have a community of over 100, and that number is always growing, where you can source your bird-friendly certified coffee. You're also encouraged to invite new roasters to join the program. So if you have a favorite coffee roaster that you think would love to be selling bird-friendly coffee, would love to be part of this community, you can encourage them to do that. I'm going to put a link right in the chat for everyone here. We've even made a little bird-friendly request card that you're welcome to print out and hand to your favorite local roaster or cafe to say, hey, I would really love it if you would sell bird-friendly certified coffee. And then, of course, you can share the stories. So what you've learned today about the intersection of coffee and conservation, about the Bird Friendly program, and encourage your friends and family to drink Bird Friendly too. Next slide. And lastly, I just want to close out my time with you all today, just with a little anecdote. So as we are now in this space, as we're seeing migratory birds returning to our communities as the migration season starts, I want you to kind of picture yourself, whether you're taking a walk in your park, maybe you're sitting in your backyard looking at a bird feeder, and you see, say, a Baltimore Oriole fly by, or make a call that you're seeing while you're out birding. And when you think about it, that individual bird has likely or has very there's a strong possibility that that bird has come from a coffee farm, that they've completed their migration journey. They're now back up here getting ready for the breeding season. They're refueling, in your backyard and settling in for the warm weather months. But that bird is directly impacted by the coffee that's in your cup. It's not just thinking about bird species as a whole, but that these individuals, the reason why they're here is because they have that strong, high quality habitat that's remaining for them in those overwintering grounds. So one of the best things we can be doing is thinking about, what are those small actions we can take to help protect these birds wherever we can within their annual cycle. And your bird friendly cup of coffee can certainly help do that. So with that, thank you so much for your time. I hope we were able to share some helpful information about the Bird Friendly program, and I'm really excited to turn us over to a couple of our Bird Friendly producers who are able to join us to talk about their work and their farm. Thank you.
Well, perfect. Thank you so much, Kristen, for that introduction. And I really like that anecdote. Definitely, we're going to have some photos coming up, and that is going to actually have some photos of some of the birds that we find on our farm. See if there's anyone that maybe you recognize that is at your hometown. But welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time. My name is Harry. I am part of the team over at Finca Terrerito, a 5th-generation coffee farm in Honduras. And the gentleman with the heart over him, that one is Michael. He will be joining me in a little bit as well to kind of go through some of the birds that we have on the farm. But I definitely want to give a special shout out and thank you to the Environments of America, Susan, for putting this all together, as well as the Shade Grown Bird Friendly certification. the hard and strict regulations that are around it, we're definitely seeing the impact and the positive impact to make sure that we're keeping the environment as well as keeping our farm as a great place for habitat for those migratory birds as well as the rest of the mammals. Next slide, please. Perfect. Let's jump in. Next slide. So just to get geography, I think I saw some photos that some people said that they're in Honduras, but we are in the Western region in the Copan department. And we're a fifth generation coffee farm really built on the idea of improving lives, sustainability, and extraordinary coffee. We are bird friendly, shade grown certified, organic, and really excited to be part of the project. What's really neat about us is that we do everything from the planting of the seed that takes 4 years of TLC maintenance to be able to begin harvesting. We have a wet mill, all the drying, dry milling, exporting, and then a facility in just north of Atlanta for any roasters that are interested in working with bird-friendly coffee. Next slide. So what we want to take a little bit of time. We only about 10 minutes, so I'm going to cut down my usual hour and a half, 2 hour presentation to about 10 minutes. But if you have any questions, shout them out at the very end. But what we wanted to really highlight was some of the things that we do at the farm to not only maintain habitat, get really great coffee, and how we pour into the community. So for that, I'm going to turn it over to our head of process improvement and engineer at the farm, Michael, who's actually on the road in Honduras right now.
Hello, everyone. I'm really happy to see that all your values is what we do with the beers here in Finca Terrerito. We love what we do, and thank you, Harry, for the opportunity to present in this case. In Finca Terrerito, it's really simple to talk about. We work around 3 pillars: improving life, sustainability on everything we do, and give you guys extraordinary coffee. Improving life is more important than just said. We are not looking for a relationship for 1 year. We are looking for a relationship for 1,000 years. So what I mean is, I want my grandsons to make business, take care about the Mother Earth. In Finca Terrerito, we have 0 hunting toilets. No hunting rules create a safe haven for birds and wildlife. 0 deforestation. 100% of our preserving and expanding forest cover. Diverse fruits, trees include bananas, mangoes, orange, and birds have abundant food year round. Next slide. Next.
Right. Let's just stop right here, just though, Michael, as well. But just taking a look at some of the birds that we have right now at the farm. So the chorcha is one that we have at the farm right now. Michael, is there any other birds that are at the farm right now? And then if anyone sees any birds that we also have in the United States. So warblers are another migratory species that I know are in the southeast of the United States that are also finding their way and the habitat on and finding homes and habitat on our farm. So as you can see, these are in Spanish, but if you ever want to translate those, but we have anything from woodpeckers, the warblers, a lot of toucans, short-billed toucans, we see a lot of those on the farm as well. On to the next slide. Perfect. And what we built out is this is not only for the farming side, but then also for more habitat. We actually have water conservation happening in real life. Over the past 5 years, we've been building a water reservoir to capture rainwater. We have seen a lot of weird weather patterns potentially that has from climate change that has hurt us when it comes to farming. So it's been irregular in terms of rainfall, when rain is going to come. So we actually built out this 3-acre reservoir to capture rainwater. And we've actually been home to ducks, heron, as well as some storks. On the next slide, you can see those. So it's actually at the reservoir there. Next slide. And so what Finca Terrerito, and as a farm, as I said, we're really focused on, hey, how do we make sure that we have a farm that's going to last generations, not one that's going to last a couple years, especially with how climate change has affected us in terms of rainfall and unpredictability of weather. Actually, on that second photo to the left-hand side, that is a shot at the farm, and you can see that habitat that Kristen was talking about. There's 20-meter high trees of great biodiversity, and I echo everything that she said in terms of the benefits that are there. For any producers that are on this call as well, definitely there has been a huge push from roasters who want to make sure that their coffee is sustainable, sustainably grown. Um, Also to make sure that we're getting a better cup quality. We definitely have always been shade grown bird friendly, but our cup quality typically is ranging anywhere in the mid to high 80s, which is really solid, especially for the US as well as European market. But we really want to be a model farm, not only what we do on the farming side, but then also what we want to do for the people side. Next slide. So that's what we're putting our money where our mouth is and making sure that us as a community and with the support of roasters in the US as well as Europe, when they see the benefit of not only the coffee being sustainable, but also making a huge impact for the communities that we're in. So we're in the, as I said, Western region, a small town called Corquín. I'm actually going to link an Explore hotspot in the chat after I get done talking to you. You can kind of look around or search us on Google. But we really want to make sure that we empower the community around us and invest in them. So this is actually a water well that we constructed. It's about 10 minutes from the farm in a small community called El Catatato. And without this water well, there'd be no ability to have running water. This is actually a well that goes down about 700 feet to bring up running water for that community. So we brought over electricity as well as the plumbing for that. Next slide. Economic growth as well. We've seen a huge impact from not only being able to attract other roasters to come on to support and get behind the mission of improving lives and sustainability, but then also just on the real estate value alone in that area. So that's a huge benefit that other producers that I've seen from all over Central America can take advantage of. Next slide. But it's not about just the people today. It is about educating the youth of tomorrow. So last year, with the help of a nonprofit called the Madiak Foundation, we built a school and clinic on the farm. That school has about 40 kids enrolled in there. And one of our big pillars of our education is to really promote nature, caring for nature, and making sure that this mission and this goal outlives my generation and outlives everyone hopefully on this panel, and that the next generation will take on that mantle to make sure that we can take care of Mother Nature. So on that far right photo, you actually see two students planting a lemon tree to not only provide future habitat, but then also provide the food as well as that secondary income for those families who really rely on agriculture. Next slide. Perfect. So just kind of wrapping it up, a little more about us. Feel free, please give us a follow on social media. You can see what we get up to on our website. We have our blog that talks a little bit more about what us as a farm do to make sure that we're not just doing coffee, but also making this world a better place. So please, if there's any roasters out there, as Kristen said, recruit them. The fact that there's less than 200, let's definitely try and change that and tell your local roaster, hey, if you want to do the right thing in terms of not only sourcing organic, but then also sourcing a coffee that's also going to make Mother Earth happy and healthy, this is going to be the way to go. So just want to say thank you so much, and I'm going to turn it over to one of those roasters doing their part.
Thank you so much, Harry. And we're going to turn it over to Matthew.
Sure thing. All right, we can go to the next slide on there.
All right, I'm going to give you a little, what I found fascinating is that there are a lot of engineers involved in coffee in this presentation. So Matthew, you're an engineer formerly, so you can take it away and share how you got into coffee roasting.
Sure thing. So yeah, I was in software for about a decade, still a little bit here and there, but I found it much more fun and interesting to sort of apply that knowledge to coffee than sort of try and have like coffee be a hobby. So I formally swapped the two back in 2020, but we've been in business 8 years as of today, actually, which is convenient. So Yeah, that is smaller than I thought it'd be. So yeah, we're based over in Pittsburgh in the United States. And when I first started doing this, I checked, and I think we were one of 3 in North America where bird-friendly coffee was the primary focus. A lot of roasters will have a subset offering of bird-friendly and organic coffees, but for us, we're all in on that. So yeah, next slide. So our selection process, it is made extremely easy, mostly thanks to the efforts of the Smithsonian. They provide a very robust directory of those farmers, importers, roasters, retailers. So when it's time to sit down and figure out what coffees we want to look at, and just go to the Smithsonian website and open a whole bunch of tabs and just go through all of it and see what's there. We try to have a focus on highlighting sort of the variety of origins. So where possible, trying to hit Central America, South America, and now we're starting to see some Ethiopia, African coffees pop up with the certification. And then on top of that, sort of having a diversity in sort of roast levels. We skew, in our roasting, we skew very light to medium, since we're an all single origin bird friendly shop, and that highlights more of the origin flavor versus the roast flavor, which is important in sort of, explaining, what these coffees are, where they're from, and sort of a person, helping people connect with them in a more direct way, I think. Next slide. So yeah, as I was saying, we sort of do our profile roasting and see, what's the sweet spot for this coffee, because that's important to highlight in addition to as part of the story. We don't want to seem like this is all about this one conservation effort. It's because you want to bring in the coffee people and the conservation people, and there's a tremendous amount of overlap. But if you want to get the coffee people on board with the bird friendly thing, this is the place to start by speaking, their language in that industry. Next slide. And so obviously the theme of the past year or two has been supply chain challenges, especially in coffee. We're seeing all-time sort of high pricing, and right now, and just when you have a smaller harvest in places like Brazil and Vietnam and stuff like that, even if we don't provide that as an origin, it sort of kicks it down the line to where the larger roasters are buying up what they can get, which is trickling down to where stuff's kind of getting harder to find for everybody. And so the huge game changer for us in that space has been smaller importers. Most notably and recently for us has been San Cristobal, who's a small number of farms, but they reached out directly, and that was the first bird-friendly Ethiopian coffee or African coffee period that I had seen in the 8 years or so I've been doing this, which has been super cool to work with them directly. And because even through our importers, we're a couple degrees removed, sort of from the farms, so it's nice where possible to work directly with them because we have a shared understanding of the certification and what we're trying to accomplish. Next slide. So as a roaster, it's unquestionably less involved than the ground level farm work and even the importer thing, but a lot of it comes with the communication of what we're doing and why. I mean, I've definitely noticed most people don't know right off the top of their head what bird friendly coffee is, but I've seen a near 100% engagement level with as soon as that's explained to them. People want to know what those 3 words in that order mean, and when you explain it to them, people are universally pretty excited about it. They never really realized that birds held this role in this space, and I've never gotten a bad reaction in almost a decade of explaining it to people. It's just no one ever thought about it. So it's a very easy conversation to have that's been extremely fruitful for us. And so, and also I've noticed in our time doing this, especially with the current pricing challenges, that people are very, people are generally very understanding to the challenges we face. And, it's kind of wild to see that customers have an understanding of these challenges before I even have to explain them. Just getting them in the door with the bird friendly certification, they're sort of engaging much more with the sort of whole ecosystem of coffee. Next slide.
I believe you might have been done.
I thought I had a few more, but
Okay, got them all. Did we miss one, or did you want to go back to this one and?
I'm missing about 3 slides there, but
Okay.
I have them on my end. I can talk about them without the visual, but
Okay, sounds good. Go for it.
So more recently, we've seen a lot of benefit in like industry networking, going to coffee expos and trade shows, and just I as my background is all in software, I was very worried going in that it'd be like I don't know. I have no business background, so I thought like, oh, those relationships in like local coffee and like that level would be very adversarial. But coffee is sort of the friendliest industry I've ever worked with or in by a wide margin, to the point where, going to those coffee events and talking to other bird-friendly roasters, because we're all buying the same coffee, we're just doing different stuff with it in our own way. Even so far as I went to Coffee Expo in Portland a couple years ago, and I met up with San Cristobal, and they had with them some of the farmers from Ethiopia, and talking to them for half an hour about birding was one of the coolest experiences I've had in my decade plus of doing this. So that sort of thing has just been super neat, and just sort of putting a face to like and an understanding to the collective impact we're having, because especially now, a lot of the time it can feel like are you making a difference can be a sort of a back of mind thought at all times. And probably my favorite part that I didn't really expect going into all of this is as a focused bird-friendly roaster, recognizing opportunities where we get to lean into the non-coffee side of things. So here in Pittsburgh, we have the National Aviary, and it's just been super fun to work with them on like anything we can come up with that's sort of mutually beneficial. And then like a lot of, even down to the level of local bird rescues, we do a lot of workshops with them and just sort of outreach stuff and education, which is just, it's just cool. It's fun to do. You can position yourself in that way where, it'd be odd if other coffee roasters not in the bird friendly space tried to do this stuff, but we sort of have it built in, and it's just, it's nice to get out once in a while and talk to people about this sort of stuff. So to close out, it's just been it's been interesting learning experience for sure, but the sense of sort of grassroots and also international like community aspect has been an extremely motivating factor in just day-to-day operations even, and it's not something I'm going to change anytime soon. It's been a really cool experience.
Thank you so much, Matthew. And I'm going to bring on all of our speakers now. That was just fascinating from everybody. I appreciate all of you joining us today to share information about Shade Coffee. I'm going to bring on Kirsten again, and Harry, and Michael, to answer any questions that you might have. I have actually taken a whole page full of notes, but if you have a question, you're welcome to use the icon at the bottom, the reactions, and raise your hand, and we will call on you if you would like to ask your question in person. But for right now, I'm gonna start off, and one of the questions was, is there a list of shade or bird-friendly coffees? I don't know, Kirsten, that might be for you.
Yes, so one of the best things you can do is visit our website. It's birdfriendly.si.edu. We have 2 resources on there to help you find bird-friendly coffee. One is a retail locations portal, which will allow you to search by your location to see if there's any bird-friendly coffee that's sold nearby in your community. We also have a buy online portal where you can search for different things like origin. If you're looking for decaf, if you're looking for whole bean or grounds, you can search there through our roasters who have submitted their coffee products to the bird friendly program to be featured on there. So if it's sold online, that way it gets delivered right to your door. It's a great way to do it. That's what I did for my my most recent coffee order, and it's great. Actually drinking the Red Start Roasters espresso right now, which is really lovely. So I would say those are the 2 best resources that we have. And then I will put another link in the chat, which is just a Dropbox link, but this is a breakdown of our full bird friendly community by state. So you can take a look at the link that is in the chat right here. and that will allow you to search by your state. Everyone who's on that list is licensed to sell bird-friendly certified coffee. As far as availability goes, not everyone always has it in stock, but this is a great starting point. And if you ever have questions about where to find bird-friendly coffee in your community, feel free to reach out to us at birdfriendly@si.edu, and I'll put that in the chat as well.
Thank you, Kirsten. And the questions keep coming. Again, if you want to turn on your video and ask in person, please use your hand raise option on your toolbar. But Juan Rivera asks, what's the smallest size of a farm or coffee production to be considered in the program?
Yeah, so we have some farms that are quite small. So it just one producer or one farmer, just maybe like a hectare in size. So there is no constraint as to how big or how small you have to be a bird-friendly certified roaster, as long as you can maintain that the habitat requirements of our certification.
Great, thanks. And I think this question will be for Harry or Michael. Someone had asked earlier on in the session, what's the height of the trees in a shade or bird-friendly farm?
So that one varies across our farm. Some of the pine trees that we have are probably close to anywhere between 15 to 20 meters. So it definitely varies just depending on the species of tree. Michael, any other thoughts or additions? Okay. Oh, well, the national tree of Honduras for us is the pine tree, but then we also have a lot of other species. A lot of the fruit trees we also have are banana trees. Some of the other species, I apologize. We mainly focus on the coffee side, but we just have a really wide range of everything from cedars to those pines that live there. So those could range and get pretty tall in some of the older parts of the farm.
Thank you, Harry. And there are a number of questions regarding just the certification process and the costs of certification to farms. Can you talk a little bit about how much it costs to become bird-friendly certified?
Yeah, definitely. So that's a great question. Ours, depending on where you're located, because I saw someone actually ask, someone from Ecuador asked about who they can go through. So that would go through your certifier. Ours is MyAssert out of Guatemala, I believe, and we do ours lump sum, not only with the bird friendly, we have organic, con manos de mujer, our fair trade TSA. That one for us, I want to say was about $5,500, a year. But that is to pay for their travel to come to us, usually stay with us for a couple days while they're conducting their audit. It is definitely a big investment, but depending on the size and the volume to be able to get to the United States, if there are roasters that are looking for that, then it's definitely a worthwhile investment. The main one we started with was the organics, and then when the certifier was there, he actually saw a duck in our reservoir and actually upsold us a little bit on also grabbing the bird friendly certification, and we're really happy we did.
We are too. Thank you. Matthew, this question is for you. It comes from somebody, and I think a lot of us are interested in this. If we want our local coffee shops to offer shade or bird-friendly coffee, and how would we walk in? What would be our elevator speech to encourage someone to do this?
I mean, I would like to think that the majority of roasters are at least familiar with the certification. It's hard to miss if you're, regularly, working with importers and buying coffee and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I would say first and foremost, the Smithsonian has just no shortage of wonderful materials that they've put together to have these conversations. Having done this as long as I have, I sort of have like, a short, medium, and long version of the explanation of what bird-friendly coffee is. Sort of usually comes back to just a land management angle and just sort of saying, the birds, are an important part of that sort of ecosystem, and sort of just sort of conveying that while the birds are obviously the focal point, it's sort of like what helping them, the ripple effect that has in terms of just, being good for the immediate area around it, being good for the coffee. Coffee likes to grow near other stuff, and just being, better for everyone involved in every step of that process. And the Smithsonian certifying that entire supply chain sort of makes it takes the weight off any individual part of it in terms of sort of figuring it out, basically. So
Thank you, Matthew. And there are a couple questions as follow-ups to the cost. Is the cost at all based on size, or is it really just based on meeting the qualifications? Perhaps, Kirsten, you could go into that a little bit more detail.
Yeah, certainly. So the cost is entirely negotiated between the certifier, as Harry mentioned. So in his case, that's Maya Cert. But what we recommend to keep costs down is to do exactly what Harry described. So you couple your bird-friendly inspection with any other inspections that you're having, particularly your organic inspections, since that is a prerequisite. So bird-friendly farms for certification inspections happen once every 3 years. So organic happens at a higher frequency, a higher rate. So it's only once every 3 years that you would have that bird-friendly audit effectively. And yeah, the cost is entirely based on how much time it takes to conduct the full inspection at the farm level, which does vary depending upon the size of the farm, how many different coffee lots there are, so how many times and areas need to be visited in order to appropriately verify the habitat requirements that are on there. So I believe the cost Harry mentioned was that bundle of all the different certifications together, but can come in at a much lower cost if you're just doing like a bird friendly and organic inspection together, or if you have a smaller size farm as well.
Thank you, Kirsten. And this one, maybe for Harry and Michael, there was a statement made, and I believe it was in your presentation, Kirsten, that bird-friendly coffee farms make more money. And someone asked, how? How do you make more money with a bird-friendly or shade coffee farm?
Great,
Who wants
great
to take
point.
that on?
Yeah. Unfortunately, coffee farming is not probably 1 out of 10 years. Maybe you'll make some money this year. Finally, the producers are gonna win. So hopefully, cheer out for the producers on on the show right now. But uh, two different ways. Number one is going to be an increase in real estate value just based on what the investments that we have made in our area. Now, it's not going to be for everyone, but the main one that I would say that people are going to get a response from is for us that are not only a farm but also an importation company. We bring our coffee into a couple of different warehouses, including our own just north of Atlanta. You will see an increased traffic from some roasters that are exclusively doing bird-friendly shade-grown coffee, or ones that have an interest in carrying that as well. Um, I'd also say it goes towards the commitment to Mother Earth. So there is that ability as a selling point to say, hey, not only is this really great coffee, but having the certification and the strict parameters that Kirsten mentioned, um, it's to show, hey, you're not only buying coffee, but you're also buying the impact behind that as well. So it'd be more on a marketing level that I've seen. Um, and I guess just more increased traffic and just having that seal of approval from this Smithsonian as well has gone a long way. Great question.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think one of the things we all appreciate about what you do is your passion for protecting nature and birds and also for giving back to your communities. I think that your contributions to the people and the places where you live are just so important.
Thank you
I'll
so
do a,
much. Oh, go ahead.
oh, go
I was
on.
going to say, if you guys want to take a look, if you go onto our website, we actually have a blog post that we did um, on the bird friendly certification. I want to say we did one in June. If you take a look through there, you can also get some really great photos of what we're doing down there. And yeah, spread the word around. Someone had a question, or at least there was a comment about how do we pitch to local cafes. It is really just going in and saying, knowing where is your coffee coming from, who are the farmers behind it, where is it sourced from, and the story behind that. Um, knowing the name and the person is one, but then also for the common consumer um, to see the Smithsonian's seal of approval behind it, that I think really goes a long way. So just letting them know there are importers. Matthew mentioned one of them. I'm another one. There's about, I think I heard 28 from Kirsten. How do we push other roasters to want to start carrying those about going direct trade? Obviously, I'd love you guys all to go towards, coffee from Finca Terrerito, but supporting other farms that are just trying to do really great work. That all just starts with the conversation of going to the cafe and asking for specific coffee, from farms that carry those same practices.
Great. Thank you so much. And if you go also to migratorybirdday.org, you'll find some resources in our materials that are Smithsonian provided as well, a card you can take into your shop to ask them to offer bird-friendly coffee. So please take advantage of those materials. I'm going to wrap us up with one more question. One person commented on how nice it was to see the interconnectedness between all of the people and groups involved in bird-friendly coffee. And it's true. So from the farms where we grow coffee to the places where, for example, our migratory birds are overwintering and then travel back to. It's so important for the conservation of our birds. And so somebody wanted to, I think it was Greg Dubois, wanted to know, which species are we sharing? They're spending actually more of their time on coffee farms in Latin America and other parts of the world, migratory species, and then they come back to breeding sites. Can y'all talk a little bit about some of the species that we're sharing that depend on shade coffee farms?
Yeah, great question, Greg. So the ones, depending on where you are, I tried to go through the chat to find out where you were, but if you're anywhere in the southeast, a lot of warblers, a lot of thrushes, and then one that Kirsten mentioned was the oriole. So we get the orioles. If you go back to our slide, I want to say they were the third picture, I think maybe on slide 5 or something, on the ones right before the reservoir. Those are the main ones that I've seen also in Georgia that I've also seen at the farm. So those would be the ones.
And just to build on that, the list is long. So 1 in 10 bird species globally utilizes habitat on or near a bird-friendly certified farm. So there's a lot of birds that benefit from these practices. So yeah, as Harry mentioned, lots of warbler species, lots of thrushes. It's you can use eBird to kind of see and understand which species are utilizing these habitats and kind of juxtapose that with some of the maps that we have of where bird-friendly coffee farms are located. But yeah, the list is a long one.
Yeah, and I just posted the eBirds hotspot, the closest one to us. So we're just, if you go onto the link I showed, we're in a small town south of that hotspot called Corquin. So those are some of the same ones that we're going to see as well on the farm.
Well, I'm going to thank you all again. I know we've hit our hour, and what I want to do now is I want to thank everybody for joining us today. I want to remind you that we have a number of other presentations coming up. So our next one is actually tomorrow for our educators who might be in the room. And Miguel Mata on our team will be providing that webinar to teach you how to host a World Migratory Bird Day program or event. And we'd also like to invite you to our Keep Cats Away and a Pane in the Glass Bird Collisions webinars coming up in April and May. And to finally conclude, we want to thank those of you who participated in our bird-friendly coffee competition. We had a number of wonderful photos that people submitted, and it was really hard to decide, but we used your essays and kind of what you're doing and how you're working with bird-friendly coffee. You can see Greg Dubois, who was on today, had an article. So I saw that. That was fantastic. We had photos from another bird-friendly coffee farm, people enjoying coffee. So all sorts of great photos, and we appreciate it. Every webinar has a contest associated with it. So please go to our website, migratorybirdday.org, and look at the webinar competitions. But these are the 2 winners that we selected for this time. Juan Laura Casillas from Jalisco, Mexico, is making this the topic of his doctoral thesis. So he is studying shade coffee in Jalisco, Mexico, and we look forward to learning more about what his understanding is and what he learns from his studies over the next, that could be 4 years, I guess, Juan Laura. Also, thank you to Shayna, who recognizes the importance of shade coffee to the birds that return to breeding sites in the United States and Canada. So with this beautiful magnolia warbler, we appreciate everything that you do in Latin America for migratory birds on shade coffee farms. So thank you very much, everyone. We can turn off the recording now, and if anybody wants to stay on and ask other questions, we can do that. as long as our presenters are available. But otherwise, we appreciate your participation today and thank you so much. We hope to see you in future webinars.